It's Kyle here, and for this video on WeReadBooks, this is kind of a sad video. I've never really done anything like this before, but just recently, a few weeks ago, one of my favorite authors of all time, Ray Bradbury, passed away, as you see by my t-shirt. I am a huge Ray Bradbury fan. I was actually out of town the week he passed away. I was at a business conference. If that hadn't been the case, I probably would have filmed a video that day. When I got back, I decided I really wanted to do something on this channel to kind of talk about Ray Bradbury. And I played around with several different ideas. It took me a while to figure out what I wanted to do. But at the end, I thought, why try to make it complicated? Let's do it simple and just talk about a few of his favorite books. I love several of his. I have several of his books. But I'll talk about my three favorite Ray Bradbury books. As I'm sure you can guess by my t-shirt, I'm a huge fan of Fahrenheit 451. It is one of my favorite books of all time. If I did a top 5 list, Fahrenheit 451 would definitely make that list. Of course, I'm sure most people have read it. It's a very common book to be read in school, mainly because it's such a great book to read to learn about the dangers of censorship. So many people have read that in school to kind of learn that lessons about how dangerous censorship is, what a fine line is to walk, and the slippery slope when you start censoring stuff, how it's so easy to go too far with it, and before you know it, you've lost all your freedoms. But one thing I've always enjoyed about Fahrenheit 51, even though it has such an important message behind the book, is that it's a still interesting book plot-wise. Sometimes books that have, or even movies that have, some important message behind them, sure, they have an important message, but the storyline is boring as all get out. I mean, how many Oscar-winning movies can you think of that, sure, you can say it's an important movie, but you'd much rather watch one of those blockbuster movies that actually has an entertaining plot line. Well, Fahrenheit 451, Ray Bradbury does an excellent job of conveying a very important message about censorship, but setting it in a very interesting story with very interesting characters, that even if you somehow miss the message he's trying to pass on about censorship, it's still a great story. Love Fahrenheit 451. I've done a review about the book on this channel in the past. In fact, I'll link that video below in the description box. Love Fahrenheit 451 so much. In fact, it's a dream of mine that sometime soon somebody will make a halfway decent movie version of it. I know there is a movie version done a long, long time ago. It is absolutely awful. I'd love somebody to do a great movie version of Fahrenheit 451. It's definitely a story I should get that kind of treatment. Fahrenheit 451, my favorite Ray Bradbury book of all time. Probably a close second is Something Wicked This Way Comes. What's first off, I should say, might be my favorite book title of all time. Something Wicked This Way Comes has such a unique, interesting, dark storyline. Much like many of Ray Bradbury's books, there's often a coming-of-age element to it. A lot of times, you can tell he's really basing a lot of these experiences on what it was like for him as a young kid, early teenage years. Something Wicked This Way Comes definitely deals with that same feeling, but it sits in a very supernatural setting, a very dark setting, where this mysterious carnival comes to town. And it promises all sorts of great things, but the main characters in the book quickly come to realize that the carnival actually has several dark secrets, and it's actually much more of an evil force on the town than a force of entertainment and joy that you'd expect from a carnival. The characters are wonderful. The storyline of this is so compelling that sometimes when I read this book, I almost think I like this book better than Fahrenheit 451. It's a very close call between those two books. Something Wicked This Way Comes, often gets overlooked. It's not read as much. A lot of people aren't aware of it, mainly because Fahrenheit 451 is such a common book for people to read in school. Something Wicked This Way Comes doesn't get that kind of treatment the same way that Fahrenheit 451 does. But I think it's a great book that everybody should take the time to read. I absolutely love it. I can read this book all the time. I never get tired of it. So if you've never read Something Wicked This Way Comes, definitely check it out. It is a classic by Ray Bradbury. My third favorite book by Bradbury is Dandelion Wine. Excellent book. Another book, much like Something Wicked This Way Comes, that deals with coming of age. This one doesn't have as much of a supernatural element as Something Wicked. There is little hints of it, but for the most part, It's just a basic story about a young boy living the joys of summer. School gets out, and as every kid knows, summer is such a magical time, full of countless possibilities. And Dandelion Wine really explores this feeling of what it's like to be a kid in summer and all the joys that come with it, but at the same time the growth process that a kid can undergo during a summer vacation. Love the book. The characters are great. It's a very simple book. It's set in the 1920s, I believe, so it very much has kind of an innocent vibe to it. It kind of feels like one of those things where you're just watching an old movie, like would it have been nice to live back then. Awesome book. Dandelion Wine, again, is another one of Bradbury's books that, compared to Fahrenheit 451, isn't read nearly as much, but in my opinion, people are really missing out if they haven't read Dandelion Wine. So check it out if you haven't read it yet. And that concludes my tribute to Ray Bradbury. Usually when I rank my favorite authors, Ray Bradbury's right there. I would say with Harper Lee, Bradbury, Ken Follett, Harry Turtledove, those are probably my favorite authors, the ones that pretty much every book I read of theirs, except of course Harper Lee, who's only written one, I just always enjoy them. Of course, out of those people, Ray Bradbury is the first to pass away. So for me, this is a very exciting experience. Even though he lived to be very old, it's still sad knowing that he's not going to be writing any more stuff when you love his work so much. But on the positive side, he lived such a long life that he wrote countless stuff. So even though I'm a huge Bradbury fan, there's many stuff of his that I haven't had a chance to read yet. So I'm looking forward to discovering those other works he's written yet that I haven't had the pleasure of reading yet. So Ray Bradbury, thanks for all the great work you did. I hope maybe this video will inspire other people to check out some of his books and short stories. I think you'll really enjoy it. And Ray Bradbury, I'll definitely miss you. And for the viewers of WeReadBooks, I will see you the next time.